greetings from Redford. I know you know where that is. First, real quick, I feel it's my civic duty to, as a father of an 8-year veteran of the Marine Corps and now a 2-year veteran of the United States Army with the 101st over there, I wanted to remind everybody that's in the audience that Obama only sent half the number of troops that he was supposed to send, so everybody that's over there is pulling double duty, and they could really use your hopes and prayers. And the question I had for Jim was, all these commercials I'm seeing for companies that are asking for your old gold, kind of reminiscent of the Goldfinger movie, James Bond Goldfinger movie, when Goldfinger was collecting everybody's gold and sending it to the Russians. Do you happen to know where all this old gold is going to? Who's the final of it? I'm going to hang up and take your answer.
Okay. Very good. I don't think you know where the gold's going, Jim. Do you?
Nope. All I know is that I don't think we have it. And that gets into some interesting stuff, too. I'm sure you've heard the talk about the ancient astronauts. In fact, I know you're getting ready to talk about that in the next hour. According to the ancient Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki, which translates as those who came from the heavens to the earth, they were here looking for gold, and apparently to repair problems in their atmosphere. And so apparently one of the whole mysteries and mystiques surrounding gold is that it has other uses other than just as a means of barter and trade. And so it kind of makes me wonder, what has happened to all the gold?
King Solomon took it. You never know. Let's go to Jan in Brooklyn, New York. Hi, Jan. How are you?
Howdy. Jim, it was a pleasure listening to you at the X conference a couple of years ago. And I have a question that nobody's been able to answer. The thing is, we hear about that the aliens, sometimes they're bad, some of them are bad guys, and they want to come over and take over the planet and eat us partly. And I was thinking, the technology is like with fiber optics is so terrible with the cell phones and is killing people and giving brain tumors. Do you think that doing this technology to hurt us?
That's a good question, and I think people ought to think long and hard about what technology is doing to us. Cell phones, of course, is one. There have been studies after studies that show that protracted use of a cell phone, after all, you're holding a radio transmitter receiver to your head. That can't be good for you over a long period of time. But I'd even mention television. The radiation that comes from the television, particularly the old screens, it does things to you. It rewires your brain. And that's not even talking about the content, which tends to rewire your brain, too. So I don't know. Some of this technology is sometimes I think it's just technology for technology's sake, to come up with products that people can go further into debt to buy. But then I think also we need to think very seriously about the impact of such technology. One good example is these full body scanners that they're placing now in all the airports. And of course that all comes back to last December and the infamous underwear bomber who had PENT explosives apparently in his underwear and tried to light it aboard an airliner. And I've been told by my military sources that this particularly military-grade explosive needs a blasting cap to detonate. You can't just set it on fire. And so that leads me to believe that the whole thing was a scam. They knew that the plane was safe and wasn't ever going to get blown up, and yet they had a event that they could publicize widely. And what happened right in the wake of that? Well, we have Michael Chertoff, who was all over the television telling everybody we had to have the new body scanner, full body scanners in the airports, and yet the manufacturers themselves said that these full body scanners probably would not have been able to pick up non-metal explosives such as the PETN or C5 or something like that, so they're basically kind of useless. And what was never pointed out was that Michael Chertoff, who was former head of Homeland Security, now has a marketing company, and one of his clients is Rapid Scan, the manufacturers of the full body scanners. So I think we can see that a lot of this technology is just something to foist off on people so that certain individuals can make a lot of money, while the rest of us have to go through the hassles.
Good point, Jim. Let's go to Tallahassee, Florida. Tom's with us. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, hi, Jim. Thanks for your insights. George, how you doing? I'm going to be seeing you May 1st at the book signing in St. Louis.
Super. You're going to come up for that?
Yeah. I have a favorite cousin who lives by West End, and she's in the old homes that was part of the Old World's Fair by Kings Highway.
Right.
So I think you're going to be at West End, correct?
No, I'm going to be at Left Bank Books, which is the one downtown. They've got one in the Central West End, but I'm in the downtown one. 2 o'clock.
Fine. She wasn't sure that there was a downtown one, but
yeah,
I'll
they
be
got
there.
a big one down there. Okay, great.
Anyways, 2 things real quick is I had 2 personal experiences. One I need help with. The other one was a guy I met about 30 years ago at college, junior college, who personally told me about a carburetor he invented that was incredible, and they bought it from him just to shelf it. And it reminds me of Indiana Jones with that big warehouse and all the crates, you know.
Or they put it back in a big warehouse so nobody would ever find it.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that we don't know about that's gone on over the years. And then there's this other guy I need your help with. I don't know if he's alive or what. He's an American who, and being we're baby boomers, we remember the Johnny Carson show. This guy got up out of his chair and was pleading with passion to the audience about not being able to get patents in America for these incredible inventions that he had. And I remember that part of it, which I saw myself, him speaking. And then years later, I asked an engineer in Arkansas where my dad was retired, and he gave me a videotape of the guy. And the guy was saying he had $1 million bond on him. He said that the utility people were threatening him. He said the government was threatening him. And he had on this video all these cool inventions, motors with very few parts, something with batteries and silicon sand, something with irrigating the deserts. And then a couple of years later, I talked to a friend of mine named Harley from Illinois, and this guy used to transport himself, and he was into making ozone in his house before he had these gadgets today that purify the air. And I said, do you know this guy? And he goes, I actually went to his home, and I wanted to buy one of his machines, but he said, I can't help you. The men in black have threatened my family, and there's nothing I can do for you. Now, this is an American, and I can't think of his name. I don't even know if he's still alive. Does any of this ring a bell?
Yeah, absolutely. In my book, Above Top Secret, I have a whole chapter on suppressed alternative energy, and it might be that you're talking about Thomas Henry Moray, but whether you are or not, there's been just case after case like this. Thomas Henry Moray, back in the 1920s, demonstrated what he called a radiant energy device that seemed to operate without any discernible means whatsoever. It consisted of a large antenna connected to a complete complex series of high-voltage capacitors, transformers, semiconductors, and he said that he was drawing energy from the oscillations of radiant energy from space. And he said that something he called the Moray valve could run for days, producing 50 kilowatts of electrical power. This was in the mainstream media back at that time, and scientists from Bell Laboratories and from the Department of Agriculture went to check it out, and they couldn't figure out how it worked, but they could also find no evidence of fakery. And but then later, Moray complained that he and his family had been threatened, he had been shot at on several occasions, and that his laboratory had been ransacked by sinister forces as part of an organized effort to